Hello everyone. I just wanted to go over our first lesson for this school year. It is over natural resources, our nation's resources. And real quick before we begin, it's very important that you fill out this document here. I will give you a copy in class, but there will also be a copy on the website, on my blog site. So this is about our nation's resources, and in this part right here, you will fill in the I will statement for the day, which is the learning goal. Make sure you put your name, the date, and the class period on there as well, in case you misplace your guide. So, and throughout the presentation, I'd like for you to fill this out just to kind of give you something to put in your binder so you can have this information so you can get to it easily, and so you'll have something that you can study for an exam. All right, so you'll be able to go through that based on the presentation. Now, for the presentation itself, let me get to it here. Our nation's resources. Okay, and I've already listed our I will statement here, and it is I will be able to categorize and understand the importance of the different types of resources in the USA, and we're going to actually talk about what resources are and why they're important, and we'll be able to put them in different categories, so that's very important. Alright, so this one's entitled Our Nation's Resources. First of all, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about the geography of the United States. As you can see here, I have three images. This one, does anyone know what this is? This is a river. Okay, and this is an aerial shot from an airplane, and this is very indicative of a river that would be around this area. This is something you would see around here. So the United States has lots of different things, lots of different types of geography. You have mountains and bodies of water such as the ocean. So, can anyone think of any other characteristics of United States geography? So just think about that. Think about if you can give any other examples of just some different characteristics of United States geography. Now here's a graphic organizer that I really would like for you to copy down in that blank section of your guide. And just I can show you really quick this section of your Prezi guide right there. Under number 3, draw the graphic organizer from the Prezi in the space below. I want you to actually draw the graphic organizer similar to the one that I have here. Okay, so what you're going to have is you're going to actually have, and I can zoom out just a little bit here so you can see, there's going to be one big circle up at the top, and in that circle we're just going to put the word resources. Okay, we got a little short definition here. We'll talk about that in a minute. But underneath that, there's going to be 3 categories of resources. We have natural resources, capital resources, and human resources. And we've also got some other categories underneath each one of those. So it's very important that you pay attention right here. Now, first of all, resources. What is a resource? A really simple definition that I'd like for you to make sure you get in your Prezi guide. A resource is something used to produce goods and services. Now, what in the world is a good and a service? Can anyone just think about what the difference between a good and a service is? Okay, a good is actually something that you can see and that you can touch. It's a physical product. Okay, for example, this computer that I'm using is a good. Okay, a service is not something that you can see or you can touch. I'm teaching you now, that is a service. You have an example. What's another example? A bus driver provides a service. They don't necessarily give you something that you can see and touch. It is a service. So they provide that service to you. Now, let's think about some other things. I already said that a teacher is a good, or that is a service rather. Teachers provide a service. What about a taxi driver? Taxi driver provides a service as well. Now think about this. What about the company Nike? What does Nike provide you? Do they provide you a good or a service? Okay, they provide you goods, because what they give you is something you can see and that you can touch. Okay, such as tennis shoes, t-shirts, all that kinds of stuff. Now, what about a restaurant? Now, this one's a little unique. If you think about it, a restaurant provides you both a good and a service. They serve you food, which is a service. Also, the food that you receive is a good. So there's certain things that are certain businesses that provide both goods and services. Now, let's talk about natural resources really quick. Okay, if you see this, the word natural, I want you to think about what the word natural means. Okay, what does the word natural means? Then the word natural mean it means coming from nature. So we're also going to talk about capital resources and human resources, but let's go back to natural resources really quick. The first kind of natural resource that I'd like to talk about are renewable natural resources. The word renewable, what in the world does that mean? It means that it can be replaced. It can be replaced. Okay, so make sure you get that down. Natural resources can be replaced. They are renewable. Now let's think about it. Is a cow is a natural resource? Is it renewable? Absolutely it is. Why is it a renewable resource? Well, the reason is very simple. Cows can reproduce. More cows can be born. Okay, it's a renewable resource. We don't necessarily run out of cows. We would have to a lot of cows would have to die very, very quickly for us to run out of cows. Now think about it. This wood, is it a natural resource? Yes, it comes from nature. Okay, is it renewable? Absolutely it is. It's renewable because more trees can grow. Think about this. What would happen if we decided to cut down all of the trees in the world? What would happen? Eventually new trees would grow. Okay? If you cut down all the trees in the world, new trees would grow still. So, trees are a renewable resource. Now let's move really quick to non-renewable resources. Now, if we know that a renewable resource can be replaced, a renewable resource such as the cow that we saw, such as the wood that we saw, those things can be replaced. Non-renewable cannot be replaced. Now, these are things like fossil fuels. Now, does anyone know what this is? What in the world is this thing out in the middle of the ocean? What is its purpose? It's getting oil. Oil is a non-renewable resource. It's a fossil fuel. It is one of those things. If we ran out of oil, there's nothing that we have that can produce more oil. So, oil is a natural. It's a non-renewable resource. Also, coal is the same way. If all of the coal were to be used up, then we can't just create more coal. We have a limited supply. Now, can you think of anything that is similar between oil and coal? Well, they're both used for fuel. Okay, we use oil and petroleum products to fuel our vehicles and to fuel airplanes and things like that. Now, coal can be used for fuel as well. Okay, as far as a heat source and things like that. Now, flow resources. Actually, let's back up really quick. Let's go back to the oil. You've probably heard a lot of people talk about gas prices, okay, and how the United States has a dependence on oil. What that means is that we use a lot of oil, and we drive a lot of cars, and we use a lot of things that use oil. But I just want you to think for yourself and think, is our dependence on oil a good thing or a bad thing? Okay, it's not really a right or wrong answer to that. It's just kind of your opinion, and I want you to use your own brain and to think about that and think about if it's a good or a bad thing. And we'll discuss it a little bit more in class. Now let's move on to flow resources. Now, a flow resource, what's unique about it is it can only be used where and when it is found. For an example, wind is a flow resource. So you can't just bottle up wind and take it somewhere. Wind is only used where it is found. So these windmills were built in the middle of this field because that's where the wind is. You can't just take wind somewhere else. Now let's talk a little bit about capital resources. Okay, these are things like tools, buildings, and so forth. The important thing for you to remember is capital resources are made by people. Okay, these are not naturally occurring resources. They are made by people. For example, this truck here is a capital resource, and they provide goods and services. Now let's think about it. We talked about what goods and services were earlier. These bottles of soda, are they goods or service? Think about that. They are goods because it's a physical product that you can see and that you can touch. Now let's think about this. This guy right here, he looks like he has a job. His job is that a good or a service. It's a service. He's not providing you something that you can see and that you can touch. He provides a service for you. Now, human resources. That's exactly what they are. Human resources are simply people. Okay, and these are a group of people who perhaps work in an office somehow. And the actual department of an office that deals with people is called human resources. People can be resources as well. Okay, think about it. Your teacher is a resource. You can ask them questions and you can learn things. Your teacher's a resource. The librarian at school is a resource. The principal's a resource. Humans can be resources as well. Okay, they can provide things like skills. Okay, for example, not just anyone could show up and work and do what this welder is doing. He has a skill. That is he's a resource that someone could use. Not anyone can do that. You have certain skills that you can be a resource to your friends or to your family. Now, knowledge. Knowledge is also something that humans can provide. Other resources that are non-human, they don't have that knowledge. You have a brain that you can use to be a resource to someone, and that is, look at this. This is a sculpture called The Thinker, and this guy's really thinking, and this just represents knowledge. All right, now, economic systems. Let's talk really quick about economic systems and what this is, and make sure you get this into the Prezi Guide as well. It is a set of rules for resources and production of goods in a country. Okay, and here in the United States, we have what's called a free enterprise system. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in here under free enterprise, and let's look at that first word. What does free mean? Think about what free means. You always hear that the United States is the home of the free. It's where freedom is. Okay, in the United States, you are not restricted as to what kind of business that you can have whatever kind of business that you want, as long as it doesn't break the law. Okay, businesses and individuals, instead of the government, have the freedom to make decisions about how goods and services are produced, bought, and sold. What this means is the government, in a free enterprise system, the government does not tell a business owner how they run their business. You can run your business however you would like. You can. That's all about the freedom that we have in the United States. If you see that word freedom there, that's what that means. That means that businesses and individuals, not the government, make those decisions. Now, so a couple of other key terms that I want us to kind of talk about real quick. This is a term that you may or may not have seen before. It's called scarcity. Okay, if you think of something, if you hear something maybe that's scarce, okay, that means that there's not a lot of it around. So scarcity in an economic sense is not having enough resources to provide for all of our needs and wants. So if we don't have enough resources, then that's what scarcity is. All right, the next term is opportunity cost. Okay, this is what you give up to receive something else. So it's a cost. It's just like when you pay money to receive something. And I've listed an example here. It says, I may have to choose to purchase gas instead of a new video game. The loss of the video game is the opportunity cost. It's one of those things where you have to think about what is important. So you give up one thing to receive another. If I really would like to have the video game, but I know that I really need gas, I probably should purchase the gas instead of the video game. So the loss of the video game is the cost. All right, this is a group activity that I just kind of want you to take a look at. We'll work on this in class, and I will explain more about it then. We're going to create a commercial, and we'll go over this in class, like I said. But anyway, that's all I have today, and I really appreciate your attention, and hopefully this little system that we have going here will work and keep you caught up on what we're doing in class. Thanks.